Let's have a little fun here, Daniel. Okay, so I've known Mike the Mouth Matisow for, 20 years, and I know you've been a lifelong friend of his for a very long time. We talk a lot of politics on this show. Mike Matisow might be the biggest Donald Trump staunch, supporter I've seen in my life. In fact, he told me he's lost a lot of friendships because of his tweets, because he rarely ever criticized Donald Trump. And he also told me that he's gotten into it with you on plenty of occasions when it comes to Donald Trump. What's the deal with your boy Mike?
So Mike, I don't think Mike is evil. I don't think Mike is a racist. I don't think he's greedy. I think he falls in the category, and always has, of dumb. Like, he's just not that smart. Really. I'm genuine. I know that sounds funny, but, like, it's true. The man is not very intelligent. And, like, sometimes he tweets things that are just kind of, like, absurd, wrong, inappropriate. And I think, like, he's new to politics, and I think he has, a couple people in his circle that sort of indoctrinate him with information, and he goes down the rabbit hole. The Mike Chernovich, that rabbit hole you can go down to on the internet to find all these conspiracy theories. Because just the other day, he told me that, Obama had more scandals than Trump. And I was like,
no, he didn't. Oh, my God.
Okay, what do you mean? Was it the tan suit or the Grey Poupon that he ordered on a hot dog? Because that was outrageous. I mean, how dare this man, be such an elitist and order Grey Poupon when everyone else has yellow mustard? Who does he think he is?
I can't believe he said that. All right, so you're a really opinionated guy. I really appreciate that about you. You're willing to talk about anything. What do you, just one political question here. What do you make of the political spectrum right now? What's going on with Donald Trump? Do you think he's going to be impeached? In fact, we did a story on this earlier in the show where there are some offshore sports books that are you have to lay minus 200 if you think Donald Trump is going to be impeached. So the books offshore think he is going to be impeached. What do you make of this whole situation?
Well, even if he is, I don't think it matters much, really, because ultimately, if you look way back when Bill Clinton was impeached, and what he did was, lie about getting a blowjob, right?
Right.
Which, Trump has lied about paying off, a hooker. He has a laundry list of things that you can impeach him on. I think the reason this one may be different is because it's easy for people to understand. And there's a transcript that they shared, which is evidence, like clear as day. Do me a favor, look into Biden and his son. I'll have my attorney general and I'll have Rudy Giuliani, speak to you. So it's like a very, very simple, obvious, abuse of power. And I think it's much easier for people to digest that, he's responsible for this. Mm-hmm. I know he's losing his mind of late, like yelling and running around the Oval Office going crazy. I just think that, once things get to the Senate, which is GOP controlled, I don't see them ever agreeing to impeach someone on their side. Like, they've sat by and sold their soul in terms of, this was the party of family values. Like, Mike Pence's wife looked at him like, you're a disgusting human being if you support this guy after, quote unquote Pussygate or whatever. So they've sort of sold their soul in the interest of maintaining power. And I don't see them turning their back on Trump for self-preservation reasons and just cowardliness. So, I think there's a decent chance he does get impeached, but I don't think that means he's going to be, kicked out of office. He won't get impeached at the Senate level. The House will pass impeachment, and then it'll just stall in the Senate, and nothing will happen.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I put the odds at about minus 400 he gets impeached and about plus 10,000 he actually gets removed from office. Is there a Democratic candidate who can actually beat him in 2020?
So the one that I think would be the obvious slam dunk win, the one that's the most obvious, and he uses his tagline, so it's not racist of me. He says, what's the opposite of Trump? He's like, I'm an Asian who likes math and reads books, right?
Yeah, right.
What more? Andrew Yang, actually, I've seen some videos of Trump supporters who are disaffected. They like Andrew Yang. Andrew Yang is the one that they feel like understands them, speaks to them. And he's talking about, automation versus immigration being the number one reason why people are losing out on jobs. Mm-hmm. And he's right.
Which is absolutely true.
He's changed the narrative. He's also, he's not a politician. He's an outsider. I don't think he's going to win the Democratic nominee, but he's the one that has actually bold, fresh ideas with the universal basic income, with what's called democracy dollars, and a lot of interesting ways to see the future and what's coming. I think none of the other candidates are talking about that.
No, that's true.
I think all the candidates, when they stood up on stage and were asked the question, and this gang wasn't on this stage, do you support, universal health care for people who are here illegally? And they all raised their hand. That's not going to play well in a general election whatsoever.
I agree.
That's just not what the majority of people are not going to feel good about that. And it's not a policy that works for the majority of Americans. So I feel like, if it's not Yang, I don't think they have a shoe-in. I think he would beat Elizabeth Warren pretty handily. Mm-hmm. I think Trump would. And, Bernie Sanders he recently tweeted something to the effect of, billionaires should not exist, which is one of the dumbest
that's
things
absurd.
I've ever
You can't do that.
tweeted.
No.
He
Like,
also
what is that?
he also had a heart condition.
Yeah,
yesterday.
he's a little under the knife. So, Bernie doesn't have a chance. I agree with you, Daniel. I always wanted to ask you this question because, you've done so much for charity. You call Las Vegas your home. We all know how the Vegas Golden Knights were such a huge part of October 1 of bringing people together, right? I wanted to get your thoughts on that and possible gun legislation. We had a young girl on the show last hour named Delaney Tarr, who's a Parkland survivor, started the March for Our Lives campaign. Because you're a really smart guy, and obviously you live here in Las Vegas, October 1, obviously in all of our hearts. So what do you make of this whole situation with gun control and, these Parkland students starting this March for Our Lives campaign? What do you think should happen here?
Well, I mean, listen, the vast majority of Americans do support gun control measures. The ones that push back or NRA or people that are, entrenched in the NRA. So the way I look at it is this. An automobile is a dangerous weapon, right? If you drive a car recklessly, you can kill people. So what are the measures you put in place before you give people the right to drive? Well, it's to do a written test. They have to do an actual driving test to show that they can, drive the vehicle. They have to be of age. So there's certain things. And there's a waiting period, right? You can't just get a driver's license in a day. Why not adopt a similar format where you do that same sort of thing for guns, right? Have people do a written test, have them do a field test to show that they can, handle this weapon, have their guns registered, licensed, have the bullets that they buy licensed, so that if their gun is stolen or whatever, they have to report it.
Yeah.
And if it's used they're just like your car. If someone steals your car,
right,
you're somewhat responsible
exactly.
for, what happens with that car. So the whole thing about the Constitution, it simply says, a well-regulated militia. Now, that's a key word, regulated, right? So regulate. The Constitution says to regulate this. So every American should, be subject to background checks. There should be some sort of waiting period in place. And, I think the vast majority of Americans see that and go, yeah, okay, that makes sense. The fear mongering from the NRA is, they're coming to take all your guns.
Right.
Like they were saying that about Obama.
Exactly.
Gun sales increased under the Obama era. People were not getting, stripped of their guns.
That was the opposite.
Just trying to do common sense stuff.
Of course.
To make it difficult for kids to get shot up in a school. Like,
of course.
Who doesn't want to enforce something, to create something like that in legislation? The problem with politics, and Andrew Yang is the only one that has a solution to this, is money. The NRA fills the pockets of far too many politicians.
There you go.
That if they want to continue to, and there's no term limits, if they want to continue to be in office, they better do what they're told.
Yeah, no, you're right. See, Daniel, this is why I always love having you on. We could talk 10, 15 minutes of Vegas Golden Knights hockey, and then we could talk gun control and Donald Trump. So my question to you is this the only interview possibly you've ever done in your life where nobody asked you one question about poker?
I think as of late there's been a few, but you're right. I think, this might be it. And I'm glad, too, because you brought up far more interesting topics.
Well, listen, I always love it. We always love it when you come on. We're always going to talk Vegas Golden Knights hockey with you, but we'd love to talk about the issues that are facing the world as well. So we'd love to have you on every few weeks and certainly talk some hockey. Daniel, I always appreciate it when you take time to join us. Always very informative, and you do a great job. Thank you so much.
Well, appreciate it. It was fun, guys.
All right.
Thanks a lot,
Thanks, Daniel. That was really fun. That was really fun. I love talking to Daniel about a number of different issues.
Daniel Negreanu obviously has an IQ in the 140 to 160 range.
He's extremely smart.
Extremely intelligent. And if he wanted to, you just heard that. That was off the cuff. That was just in moment.
I just felt like
he could definitely be a politician if he is he still a Canadian citizen or is he an American citizen?
I don't know the answer to that. But listen, I wanted to go there with him because I knew he'd answer those questions because he gets into it on social media.
He does get very aggressive on Twitter.
With poker all the time, with poker players all the time. All right, so this is going to be cool. I want to give tickets away to the Renaissance Festival. We have a pair of tickets to the Age of Chivalry Renaissance Festival. It's at Sunset Park, Saturday, October 12th. Right now, fifth caller, 257-5396. Again, the fifth caller, 257-5396. We will be giving away a pair of tickets right now to the Chivalry Renaissance Festival, the Age of Chivalry. That's Saturday, October 12th. Fifth caller right now, you'll win a pair of tickets at 257-5396. And JD, we have a very special guest on the line for you. When we come back, he has a very special message for you. I'm not going to say who it is, but a very special message for JD Sharp with a guest that is on the line right now. We'll take a quick break, be back right after this. You're listening to the Vegas Take right here on the all-new 101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDON.